Hello fellow mutants, welcome back to another video. In this video we're going to talk about how there's, according to Screen Rant, one force concept that could have massively improved the sequel to Star Wars trilogy. So let's find out what this is. One force concept featured in the Star Wars universe could have vastly improved the sequel trilogy. Disney's sequel trilogy began production almost immediately after the conglomerate acquired Lucasfilm in 2012. The first film in the trilogy, Star Wars The Force Awakens, received a largely positive reception from fans and critics alike. The following two films, however, were much more divisive, having since fractured perception of the franchise's future. Due to this divisive nature, the sequel trilogy as a whole is widely considered as a failure. While each film has its own redeeming qualities, and the trilogy does include some of the very best scenes Star Wars has to offer, the lackluster of continuity across all three films is undoubtedly its biggest shortcoming. This being said, the introduction of one Star Wars concept in both the prequels and the originals will have removed some of the sequel's most divisive aspects and improved Disney's Star Wars trilogy as a whole. And that's a Force versions. What is Force versions in Star Wars? In Star Wars, Force versions has been common across all mainstream Skywalker saga movies, albeit without the name being overly applied to certain elements. Firstly, though, it's worth exploring what a Force versions actually is. In Star Wars lore, a versions is a naturally formed yet highly unusual concentration of the Force. The concentrations can apply to two places, objects, or perhaps most strangely people. Oftentimes, the former two types of Force versions could allow Force-sensitive individuals to have more powerful interactions with the Force itself. What are some important examples of Force versions in the Skywalker saga? The Skywalker saga actually featured many examples of Force versions that are vitally important to the film and even the franchise they are a part of. The most important case of the Force versions is none other than Anakin Skywalker. As established in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Anakin was accumulatedly conceived. This was the result of the Force versions, with the Force itself willing Anakin into existence as the Chosen One to return balance to the Force. The majority of other Force versions in the Star Wars saga comes in the form of places. The Cave of Dagobah, in which Luke Skywalker sees his own face under Vader's mask, and The Empire Strikes Back, is a Force versions. Another example of a Force versions that can be seen through the mystical energy field is extremely strong in the Mirror Cave on Act 2, featured in Star Wars The Last Jedi. On Coruscant, the mountain on which the Jedi Temple is constructed, is a Force versions, as the Lothal Jedi Temple seen in Star Wars Rebels. The concept of Force versions would have improved the sequel trilogy. The way the concept would have improved the sequel trilogy links to Anakin Skywalker and Rey. Arguably the biggest inconsistency across the sequel trilogy was the issue that Rey's parentage. That was a hot mess. Despite the many theories spawned from The Force Awakens, Last Jedi confirmed that Rey was a nobody, the abandoned daughter of two junk traders who rose to face the First Order. This was then retconned by Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, with Rey being revealed to be the Emperor of Emperor Palpatine, before finally taking the moniker of Rey Skywalker herself. The back and forth aspect of Rey's heritage leads to some of the more disappointing parts of the entire trilogy, especially in episode 9, which was frustratingly underdeveloped in terms of Rey being a Palpatine through her parents. However, if Rey has made versions in the Force, and of course this plot point had been played in the beginning, The Force Awakens, the sequel trilogy would have been vastly improved. This would have fixed three issues that stand out in the sequel trilogy. Most importantly, it would have tied Rey to Anakin more closely and could have opened the door to giving him a bigger role in the sequels. This would have removed the problematic plot point in The Rise of Skywalker of Rey defeating Palpatine, which invalidates Anakin's arc as a chosen one. Rey being tied to Anakin through the Force is another version, and the latter having an integral role in the story would avoid this. Also, crucial to the Rey's immense power in the Force would be also explained due to her origins in the Force versions, as it would be with Anakin. Finally, Rey's heritage as a construction of the Force would have removed the aforementioned poorly handled plot point of Rey being a Palpatine entirely, as was the case of Star Wars' final Skywalker saga film, The Rise of Skywalker. And I can see their point a bit. Maybe of course, then this may feel redundant, and if you guys have any better ideas, please let me know. But maybe being Rey being constructed in the Force, kind of having one the whole Anakin thing where he had no father, the Force was just essentially his father. How me Skywalker had to carry him. Maybe we could have had that with Rey. Maybe the same thing happened to Anakin's conception happened to Rey. But the difference is Anakin knew who his father was. Rey wouldn't. Would have fixed the whole parentage thing. Would have made the whole you don't have to be have the bloodline from someone special like a Skywalker or a Palpatine or a Solo to be someone in the galaxy. And you could get away with having maybe Rey was the chosen one incarnated. If you get my drift. You could have played off that if you I don't know. Put a white Anakin's conception into Rey. No father, the Force is her father, she's the new chosen one. Boom. The chosen one in reincarnated in a way. I'm not saying that would be the best outlook, the best spot, but be better than what we got in The Rise of Skywalker, let's be real. But that's just me. What do you beautiful people have to say? Let me know in the comment section down below. Love you guys. Have a wonderful day. Be kind to one another. And I will talk to you fellow mutants later.